This is the video for June 2nd and June 3rd for elementary curriculum, and I want to welcome you to our Summer of Superheroes. So all summer long for June, July, and August, we are going to be looking at 13 different characters of God's true word and how they are superheroes of faith. We're going to be looking at their superpowers, and we're going to be looking at our own lives and figuring out how we can grow those superpowers in our own life so that we may become superheroes of faith as well. We'll be alternating back and forth between a female character and a male character all summer long. And we also will be using the same memory verse to help us through all 3 months because this memory verse is kind of like a superhero mantra. And it's Isaiah 1:17, and it says, "Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, and plead the case of the widow." And so that memory verse is kind of like our superhero mantra for the year or for the summer. And so the first thing you'll do is this week is you will do a superhero craft to teach the memory verse. And this week we're going to be doing a Captain America shield. So each child will have two pieces of paper, this piece of paper and this piece of paper. And basically you'll cut these circles out and build them up with the star in the center to create a Captain America shield. And then each kid will also have a smaller piece of cardstock that is the handle to go on the back of the shield so they can carry it. So that's your first activity. Now we are going into your lesson, and our first superhero of faith this summer is Enoch. And I'm really excited about Enoch because we've actually never taught about him. Enoch's an interesting character because really there's only a couple of verses in the Bible that talk about Enoch, but he is a pretty interesting guy in that he's one of only two people who didn't ever die. He just went up to heaven with Jesus. And so Enoch's superpower is that he walked with God. And so we thought it would be really neat to start our series off talking about a man who just committed his life and trusted completely in the Lord and just walked with him all of his days. And what does that look like for our lives? If we walked with God, how would our lives look? How would our lives change? And so you'll teach about Enoch, and then your last lesson or your last activity is kind of a small group activity that helps walk through God's walk. Now, we were originally going to have it so that every child had one of these, but I think that might be a little excessive. So what we've done instead is have each classroom have one of these. And so you'll have an empty sheet, and it says, "I can walk with God." Maybe just post this up on your whiteboard. And then you'll walk through each one of these verses. And each verse here talks about a different way that we can walk with God and what our lives look like when we walk with God. So example is walking in love. It says, Ephesians 5:2 says, "And walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us." So then you would read the verse, and then you would talk to the kids about, well, what does it look like to walk in love? And maybe go through some examples of how your students can walk in love. For the younger students, maybe it's an example of sharing. And for the older students, maybe it's an example of inclusion. When they see somebody who is being left out, what does love look like to bring them in? And so it's just kind of like an open group time talking through some of those scriptures and helping to reiterate what it looks like to walk with God like Enoch walked with God. So then, this is the really fun part. Every week this summer, you will be handing out a take-home sheet, but they're going to look a little different this summer. The first thing is it's a full page, okay? And they're very superhero themed. So on the front of the page, there's going to be some kind of activity that corresponds with the lesson. And so this one is, they fill in the numbers, the correct numbers, and it actually ends up identifying the term walk with God. And then on the back, they have a little blurb about what we learned today and why Enoch was a superhero and how they can be a superhero as well. And there's a little coloring sheet, a sticker sheet, and they'll be sent home with a set of stickers as well. And so the idea is that they can fill out their sticker sheet with Enoch and do a little activity, and hopefully my big prayer is that these are fun and the kids will want to do them, and it encourages them every week to get into the Bible and to think a little bit further about the lesson that they've learned each summer. So that is your first week of superheroes. If you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, we just wish you a great Sunday, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.